What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Golf 360 podcast. I'm the host, Pete Popovich. So you may be asking yourself, what is Golf 360? And Golf 360 is a show that was designed to introduce you to people associated with the game of golf to help you improve not only at your game, but also your life. Almost all of our guests are from within the industry in some way, shape, or form, but some of the guests we have are from outside the industry, and it mainly revolves around the business world with a few others scattered in here and there. Now, all of the guests that we have a few things in common. One, they all were highly successful and accomplished in their field. Two, each has something to pass along that will help you in your game and your life. And three, they were all more than willing to give back by passing along the things that they use to help them in their career, and even some of the mistakes that they made so that others don't make them in their journey. So I hope you find listening to them as enjoyable as I did interviewing them, and that each and every one of you benefits from the information that they so willingly and graciously pass along. Hey everybody, I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the Golf 360 podcast, and that's Affinity Wealth Management Group. We all work exceptionally hard for our money, and none of us can afford to let that fall into the dark abyss of the big box financial service firms and their jack of all trades and master of none mantra, which basically means you become a number within a cookie cutter model that's also often accompanied by massive fees. Your future deserves more than average returns and little attention. At Affinity Wealth Management, they ensure that your financial goals receive highly individualized, tailored attention from experts, not just advisors, who are in the industry to be great and not average. As a client of Affinity Wealth, you receive a customized solution to your customized life, keeping in mind your family's financial situation, values, and risk tolerance. Call Affinity Wealth today for a no-cost consultation with one of their experts at 724-754-8200. Again, that's 724-754-8200. Or you can also check them out on the web at www.affinitywealthmg.com. That's AFFINITYWEALTHMG.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Just Thrive Probiotic. You may be surprised to learn that your digestive system is the key to creating and maintaining the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health, and it's one of the body's most essential systems. That's why the majority of nutritionists today highly recommend probiotics as an indispensable nutritional supplement. As a discriminating consumer, you've probably been searching for a probiotic that is proven, potent, and effective, and you found it. Just Thrive is your best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Just Thrive Probiotic captures the power of hundreds of thousands of years of nature's design with a specialized bacillus strain formulation that guarantees survivability through the stomach and upper digestive system. Supports optimum gut health, digestive health, immune health, and delivers antioxidants. Great for adults, kids, and the whole family. Use promo code GOLF360 at www.thriveprobiotic.com for 10% off your order. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, golfers of all ages, welcome to another episode of the Golf 360 podcast. I don't know a person who plays golf that doesn't have a deep passion and love for it. And today's guest is no different. In fact, he took that passion and love and created and built one of the largest online resources for golfers and the largest direct-to-consumer digital platform in the world. It revolved around instruction, club fitting, fitness, the mental side, anything that you could possibly imagine had to deal with golf. And for those of you who are big into golf, you're very passionate about it, you've been in it for a long time, you'll remember his original platform, which was called Revolution Golf, where he was the CEO and founder. And that has evolved into the Golf Channel's Golf Pass, and he is now the senior VP at the Golf Channel. So if you haven't figured it out already, my guest today is Justin Tupper. This is just a wonderful, wonderful story. He's told it probably more times than he cares to now, and he is in very high demand, and I'm very grateful and thankful that he made the time to come on my show so that all you listeners could hear what a great story this is. We always see the top the iceberg, or the people once they're successful, but not all of us always get to hear the story of how they got there, the challenges that they overcame, what guided them, what formed that path that they were on. And in today's show, Justin goes over all those things. So I think you're really going to love it. I hope you do as much as I did sitting down and talking to him. And as always, Pete, please give a big Golf 360 welcome to today's guest, Mr. Justin Tupper. So I'm very excited to do this. You're from the Low Country. I've been here almost 30 years. I was really, you had given a talk a couple years back at the Hilton Head PGA meeting, and really shed more light on, at least to me, and I think to a lot of the local pros, how you started everything, and now evidently all the way up to Golf Pass with the Golf Channel.
Right.
And I just thought it was a fascinating story, not just because you're from the Low Country and we have a lot of mutual friends and they said you need to get Justin on, but just your entrepreneurship, your vision, creativity, the whole thing. So can you, let's just start there, go back to the beginning, because I think you said you started in your bedroom, didn't you?
Yeah, so I'll give you the story. I was a film major and a media arts major with my cognate in film at the University of South Carolina. And, I was just a bad student always, very dyslexic guy, never liked school, but, had this creative side to me, and sort of media and film production was kind of a way to get through college and be able to find that. And when I graduated, I, found myself kind of looking for a job. And at the time, there was a film in Beaufort, in Savannah, being filmed by DreamWorks. It was called Forces of Nature. And I was lucky enough to be hired on as an assistant sort of location manager, and quickly realized that film love was not for major motion pictures or the Hollywood machine, but I still loved the idea of creating. At the time, after that, I worked on that film for about a year. And after that, got into real estate like many people did in the early 2000s when things were bustling and growing. And in 2003 and 4 and 5 and 6, I started, basically building very basic WordPress blog websites for my listings, and started in 2006 to shoot some video to put onto those websites for the listings, and started to see some success from that perspective in real estate business due to that early onset of use of technology. And then something interesting happened where Google bought YouTube, and when they did that, they bought it in 2006. What it did is they wanted for more and more people to use video for websites. And so if you did a video of a listing in a town and you put the right keywords in, you often went to the top of the search engine for people searching for real estate in Beaufort, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I started sort of going that route. And I'm no economist, I can't predict the future, but I did realize sort of pre-bubble, I remember I went to this specific closing, and a couple, with a combined income of around $140,000 was buying a house for $650,000 that now trades for about $250,000. Mm. They were doing it with no money down, and they were actually getting a check back at closing because the appraisal was even more than the purchase price, and they weren't putting anything down. And I just asked them at the end of the closing, I said, what are you going to do with the check there? And they said, we're going to go to Best Buy and buy TVs for it.
Jesus.
And I thought to myself, it was literally that instance. I rode over to my dad's law firm on Bay Street in Beaufort and went up to his office and sat down with him. And I said just that. I said, Dad, I don't know what's happening. It sounds like that they made a movie, the Big Short. It sort of sounds like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't know what's going on. But I got to tell you, this doesn't make sense. Like, trees don't grow to the sky. People are getting money for nothing. They're buying too much house. Prices are going crazy. This is la la land. And I just don't see how this is a sustainable business. And my dad said, you know what? You know what, Justin? There are times in your life when you have an opportunity to really put your passion and your work together. And there's a cliche, albeit often overused, but very true. If you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life. And I really took that to heart. And the real estate business was beginning to slow down a hair. It had been an absolute fire for anybody and everybody who was in that space. I'm sure that they saw it in Hilton Head. They saw it in Beaufort. And it
Right.
was
I
at that
remember that
time I
time.
said, yeah. And it was at that time I said, you know what? What if I could use video, use YouTube, build a platform to get golf instruction to the masses, right? To the people out there. All I would do is watch Golf Channel back in the day. And I was always incredibly enamored or sort of, I was sort of entranced by the infomercial space on there, and there were companies like Olimar
Yeah,
and
Ron
those early
Ceruto used to do
companies.
stuff with them. I remember those.
Exactly. They were massive. And I was just always like, and I knew the golfer psyche. I tell everybody I'm an irrational person when it comes to golf, like many of the listeners probably are. Like all the way back to college. Like I can remember having $450 in my checking account, and my brakes on my car were squeaking like hell. But the new Ping driver came out, and there was only one decision to make. There was only one place where I was spending my entire net worth, and it wasn't on the brakes. I make those incredibly so I understood like golfer, and I understood the desire to sort of want to get better. And for the first time in the kind of the history of the world, there was an opportunity for you to be able to watch this stuff streaming on a computer at the time. This was pre-iPhone, pre-tablet, pre-iPad, all of that, which continued the evolution or the revolution, as I like to say. And so I started and even before I streamed it, I printed DVDs. People still use those back then. And I actually started with Don Trahan, who was a pro from Hilton Head or at Hilton Head at the time, and sold DVDs of his for a number of years until we just sort of didn't have a congruent agreement on how the business should grow, on how the direction it should go in that I really wanted to build a platform where you could get the best instructors from all over the world who are basically unattainable for the sort of everyday golfer and bring them right into you. And that's when I sort of founded Revolution Golf. And look, like most successful stories, there's elements of luck, there's elements of timing that go into all of it. And I will never claim to be the smartest guy. I just was working hard in the right space at the right time, and a lot of things came together in timing wise that allowed us to see sort of this growth that was unfathomable in the space of golf, more importantly, the space of golf instruction, to build up a database of millions of people who were watching and consuming and are on our email subscription list. And I was able to do that and build a huge, database of people who I could deliver content from, people like Jim McClain and Martin Chuck and Andrew Rice and all these other sort of great golf instructors in a very organized fashion. And then the other interesting thing that I was able to capitalize massively on was the what I would call clogging of the channels in 2010, 11, and 12 in golf. And that was, there was a phenomenon in golf that I'm sure a lot of your listeners will remember, is the TaylorMade R11 was the first white driver.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first one we saw with that white color. And an average driver at the time, like a new great product driver by a OEM, meaning a golf manufacturer, would sell something in the range of 250 to 300,000 drivers in a run. You know, that was considered a massively successful product launch. I believe the R11 sold 1.5 million
Jesus.
Pieces. And it created this product cycle that got massively out of hand, where people were, you know, I think there was a period in 2012 or 13 where TaylorMade actually had, between the R11, the Rocket Balls, BLLZ version of equipment, they had something else called like Speed something. But they had something like 13 fairway wood or drivers come out within 13 months.
Nothing like flooding the market, is there?
Flooding the market, and other companies followed suit with that. And what happened was there was a massive clogging of, because the game didn't grow to the extent of that one product success. It elevated TaylorMade to this really high point, but there was no, you know, other than it being a new color driver, it was a brilliant, brilliant marketing piece that Mark King did when he was running the company, and massively successful. But there was nothing underlying propping up that sale. You know, it was just literally the massive amount of user adoption. I mean, I guarantee you, your listeners are shaking their head and said, I bought a white driver, because there was like they were everywhere. It was the thing. And so what happened there is the channels got clogged, and they were producing a lot of equipment, but nobody could sell it all at the rate that it needed to be sold. And all of these companies were following suit in doing these sort of product cycles, and the products got clogged. And so I was sitting here with this business called Revolution Golf that had a massive database of very loyal, faithful subscribers that I delivered instructional content to every single day, 5 days a week at no cost, and then asked them to buy some stuff from time to time. I had this huge database. So I remember, and I won't name the OEM, but I booked a flight to California, went to, you know, Carlsbad area, went into an OEM, literally went into their warehouse. It looked like the final scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark when they're putting the thing up. It was just like rows and rows and rows of products stacking up, and there were trucks backing up, bringing in more product that the retailers and the pro shops couldn't use. And I remember saying to the guy, hey, listen, I don't have the money to write you a check for all this, but I tell you what, if you let me take this inventory on a consignment agreement, in 30 days, I guarantee you I can move most of this at this price, and I won't do a single ad on the internet. I'll just offer it to my database of loyal subscribers at a reduced price that you won't see it, the advertisements anywhere. It'll just be within my email newsletter at the time, and I bet you I could have success with this. And this OEM said, I tell you what, here's 8,000 drivers. Here's the SKUs. Here's the difference. Have a truck here tomorrow to back up. You can take them out of here. And I give you 30 days to give me the money and or the drivers back, and let's just see what we can have. Here's the minimum I can take for the drivers. If you promise me you're not going to advertise this anywhere that, you know, would show your ridiculously low pricing. And we shook hands on the deal. I made an agreement with actually a local golf retailer in the area to use their warehouse use their personnel, pay them to help me do this. They gave me 8,000 drivers, and I didn't leave California. And in 3 days later, not 3 weeks, I walked into that OEM with a certified check for his 8,000 drivers. And I said, they're all gone. They're never coming back.
Jesus.
And here's your money. What else do you have? And
how big did his eyes get?
He looked at me like, wait, what did you do? And I said, this all went to end users in the United States of America who are passionate golfers, who, if they love your product, they're probably going to come faithful to your brand and buy the next thing that you do. What else do you have? And he said, how did you do that? That's crazy. Nobody can do that. That's impossible. And I said, well, I've built a pipeline of people who their number one thing that they want to do is get better at the game. And if you put products in front of them that can help them achieve that goal at reasonable pricing or at even special pricing, they'll buy it voraciously. Because these people, like I always say, the Revolution Golf person was passionate about golf. And one of the things that made them attractive to Golf Channel and NBC Sports was my guy wasn't watching PGA Tour coverage of golf because he was playing golf on Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he lived to do. He regrips his clubs in his garage. He books the golf travel for his buddies' trips. He's the guy that leads that. He's the guy that all the other guys say, hey, where do I send the money? What are we doing? You line it up. I'm in. Like, that's a Revolution Golf. That was a Revolution Golf guy. He bought the newest equipment. He would try something new if he thought it made him better. He would buy a training aid. And so I had this so first thing I did is I caught the momentum of YouTube and being able to effectively buy paid media on the internet to attract eyeballs to an offering. The second piece of success that helped catapult it was I could solve a problem that was a temporary problem, although tens of millions of dollars to be extracted and to help out these OEMs. And so what I was able to do is I was able to help them with a problem to get this inventory out to people who would use it and who would probably buy their product again, who had never tried their product before. And I was able to actually go back to those 8,000 buyers and do surveys and say, hey, have you ever bought this product that you just bought from manufacturer X before? And I'd get this like ridiculous amount of people that would respond. Like half of the people would respond. And they would say, no, I've never bought this company's equipment before. And I could show that to the CEO and them go, holy smokes. Like, that's what they're after, right? They want to create brand loyalists. And this is an interesting way to seed the market with product that they couldn't sell. And so I was able to go, like, literally, I would, go to Carlsbad area, which is sort of the Silicon Valley of golf. And I'd go out there for a week or two at a time and stay in a less than desirable hotel motel. And I'd go to lobbies and I'd try to catch people in parking lots. And I would, myself and some close people that I worked with that were equally as helpful as making Revolution Golf a success. And I had flyers I would hand out. I'd go to the PGA show with flyers. I'd go to the PGA show and have a flyer and I'd hand it to somebody and just show nothing but unit sales, what we'd been able to do. And I could cut a deal with somebody standing right in front of them, and right behind me was my film crew. And I'd say, hey, here's the deal. Here's what we're going to charge. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the sales we're going to make. In fact, you're probably not ready for this, but I am. Let's shoot the infomercial right here live 2 minutes from now. And it could be a guy. I did it with, I'll never forget, I did it with Kent Wool Socks. You guys probably have heard of Kent Wool Socks. Mm-hmm. And I went to, unfortunately, the man passed away who I did the original one with, but literally did that at the PGA show. And they were a company out of Greenville area. They're a textile business. One of the founder who did pass away was a big time golfer, thought all golf socks were not great and had a wool one that was really good, guaranteed no blisters, and just had a right story. And somebody might think, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, whatever. But to me, knowing that passionate golfer, I was like, this is right up our alley. Like my guys and gals, they want to put on golf specific socks and their feet feel good for 18 holes and not get blisters when they buy new shoes, because they're going to buy new shoes because the new stuff they got to have. And so like I did that pitch in front of the man from Kentwell. We shot a video. We turn it around. I tell him I need 10,000 pairs of socks. And he's like, you're nuts. Well, our first campaign, we sold 36,000 pairs of socks for him.
Jesus.
Right. And it was like, how can you do that? I said, the reason I can do it is I have all the people who want your socks, and they trust me, and they know that I only put quality content in front of them and quality offerings in front of them that will make their golf experience better. That's what I drive this entire company with. Like, that's my hope. And I know if I fulfill that promise to them, that they'll continue to buy from me and continue to use Revolution Golf as the voice of reason within this crowded marketplace of noise and driver productions and all of this stuff. And, so that's my long-winded version of how it started and sort of the evolution of the revolution and what led us to that day in July of 2017 when Comcast, sent us the money for the acquisition, and the brilliant team at Golf Channel put together a deal that was irresistible and what made sense to all companies involved. And that was one individual named Will McIntosh, who now leads strategy for golf. For all of NBC Digital, thankfully, because he's an amazing leader and a great deal maker and somebody who can really see around the corner. That was the early beginnings. Those were the steps. And by the way, it wasn't. Before I quit the talk, I should be very clear and say it wasn't all roses.
Mm-hmm.
There was, just like anything, there were growing pains of many kinds. There were many walks in the cold, dark of New York City with me going, how am I going to make payroll next week? There were, litigations that took place for various reasons, which all sort of emerging growth disruptive companies probably encounter in different ways. There were sleepless nights. There were massive highs. There were some pretty, questionable times. But just like any journey, that's just part of the journey. And at the end of the day, I can go to sleep at night really believing that what I helped be part of to build added value to a lot of people's lives in lots of different ways. And at the end of the day, that's kind of the scoreboard that we should all live on, in my opinion.
I think it was Kevin Kelly, who was a Wired editor, wrote the article, 1,000 True Fans, and basically said, if you have 1,000 followers, you don't need 100,000, you don't need 100. But if those 1,000 will read all your material, they'll watch all your videos, buy all your products, you've got it made. You've got the market beat. You obviously had more than 1,000 in your database for Revolution Golf. Can you speak to how many you had at any particular time? Because you were worldwide.
Yeah. I mean, we had like...
I don't know if that's proprietary. I don't want to go prying into
No, it's not proprietary. I mean, we had we had kind of over 3 million, and
kind of blows the 1,000 out of the water, doesn't it?
I would say the hyper engaged, that tribal crowd. There was probably 300,000,
mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, you can hear all these vanity numbers.
Justin, I lost you. There you go. Okay. Lost you for a second. Can you hear me? Yep, you're all good.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying is, like, I can tell you, and we were a global company. In fact, our largest city was London, England, believe it or not, in database members. And it still is today, I believe, with Golf Pass, but I might be speaking incorrectly there, so don't hold me to that one. But what I was going to say, the U.S. market, which I sort of focused on, even though pound for pound, the best golfer customer, in my opinion, is a Canadian. They're just the most passionate. They have a shorter season and go harder and spend more and play more, and they're just awesome. But they're just not as many of them as a numbers game. But what I'm saying is, in the U.S. market, I've had this conversation with probably 3 of the top 4 OEM CEOs, where there are 8 million golfers that really, really matter. In other words, you hear the number 25 million in the U.S., and that's like a really what I would call diluted number. I think there's 8 million that really, really matter, like that are spending theirs. And I believe there's probably only 3 or 4 million of the voracious, the guys and gals who live, breathe. It's on their mind all the time. They're buying the new products. They're trying the new shoes. Their golf trips their vacations are oriented around golf. Where they live, their property is related to proximity of a golf course, range, or something else.
The diehards.
Yeah, that's my guy and gal. That's them, right? Well, I'll let everybody else fight over the fringe people. I think that's like that Wired magazine article is probably correct. Like, you don't need a massive tribe. You just need a tribe. Like, you need a group of people that are, just passionate to build something really cool. And they're also, those people are also like the people that influence their friends and others too. Mm-hmm. So
when you were building it, because I remember when you and Don got started, and you guys were on the front page of Yahoo and all the main ones, and that obviously takes a lot of work and know-how. At that point, were you doing most of that on your own, or had you hired other people to help you?
No, it was myself and one. Yeah, it was one of myself and one of the other early people. His name was Dean Strickler. Mm-hmm. And Dean, I brought in. He just knew that game. And the reason why we seemed like we were everywhere is because there was zero competition. There was no competition in the clicks that I was paying for clicks was literally 1/100. This gets kind of into nerdy stuff, but like what you pay for golf clicks now are from $1.80 to $2.20. And back then they were a penny and 2 pennies because there was just no, and that kind of goes back to my timing. So I was able to kind of blanket the space. And for Yahoo specifically, that was the height of Yahoo. But I had this converting offer, and I was able to spend literally over a few years, millions of dollars in a category called remnant space on Yahoo, where I would just buy like all of this unsold banner ad space that was relevant. And that's why people saw it all over the place. And that, again, that goes just back to the timing aspect. Like, to do what I was able to do at the beginning, costs a lot of money, but it would literally cost, like, not kidding, it would cost hundreds of millions of dollars in 2020.
Timing is one of the most important things, isn't it?
It is. I think timing's, you can confuse timing with luck, right? And I do believe there's luck. I do believe there's a lot of sweat a lot of sweat and hard work and being thoughtful and not being distracted that becomes part of success. But timing is a massive part of it. I mean, I just believe if you talk to anybody in any industry of any kind and they don't bring up timing, they're just not being thoughtful about it, because there's a timing factor in everything.
I had Mick Colella on
Oh
earlier
yeah,
this week, and
yeah,
Mick's story. You talk about timing and good fortune. I mean, and
yeah.
I'm not gonna spill the beans out there, but he just said, look, he goes, I'm not smart by any means. We just happen to have great timing and
Oh yeah.
luck when we needed it, and then they were
Mick's
there
a
for
great
40.
guy.
He is, and I think everybody's gonna love that one. I mean, he's such a good guy.
They'll love it. I mean, Mick, I've seen him from time to time over at Secession. I probably should let him know, but like he had a big part of like my DNA in golf, whether he knew it or not, because my mom, we'd make that massive journey from Gifford to Hilton Head
Just a
often.
long trek, especially back then before the cross island.
Especially back then with no connector and things. And my mom would like be shopping or something, and she'd just drop me off at Mick's store, right? And I would just sit in there as a kid and putt, look at the clubs for hours and hours and hours on end. And we were faithful customers because I usually had enough time to be able to put together a good, sales pitch to my mother on why she should buy me this wedge and how much of a better student it would make me. And my grades would definitely get better if I only owned this wedge. So Mick was great, and it definitely, like, when I sit back and reflect, whether he knows it or not, that store and those hours that they allowed me to basically loiter in there as a young man certainly had influence.
Your list of instructors is second to none. And as
Mm.
you mentioned, you started with Don, and then you had the gentleman,
Yeah,
I forget his name, in Vegas. Please forgive me for doing so.
yeah, no.
And
He's
then
Paul Wilson. I
yes,
forgot his
that
name
was
for
it.
a little bit. Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you got connected with McLean, and then from there it just
yeah,
seemed to snowball.
yeah.
So how did
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
mean,
evolve, and how did you talk these very well known, very well
yeah.
respected teachers into coming on and take more? It is important is taking the time to do the videos. They're obviously running their own academies and schools and lessons and
Yeah,
tour.
no, look, success breeds success, right? And I had a lot of success, and I got to the point where I could post a video with like Paul Wilson, and in 24 hours, you know, and this is, by the way, this is in 2011, so 9 years ago, in 24 hours, 200,000 golfers would watch it.
Wow.
Right. And that's like in 2020 numbers, that's like saying 20 million people would watch it. Like that's considered a quote viral video
Mm-hmm.
in today's time. When you consider the consumption of the day and the amount of views, it's literally like saying 20 million people would watch it. And so I got to this point of success where I could go to a Jim McLean, and I got to Jim because his son Matt was a friend of mine, and everybody had heard of Don's, seen what you had seen. What the hell is Don Trahan on the front of Yahoo for? And this, there, boom, boom.
Yeah,
Then they saw Revolution
doing
Golf
videos in his
form,
backyard.
right? And then they saw Revolution Golf, and they saw this other guy, Paul Wilson, and they saw it everywhere. And by the way, I was creating some pretty serious revenue early on. I mean, there were tens of millions of dollars of stuff being sold. So there was a story there. So all I really needed to do is get in front of somebody as smart as Jim McLean and say, hey, Jim, if you'll take a couple of days out of your busy schedule, I'll come down. I'll bring the film crew. I'll cover all the costs, and I'll get you hundreds of thousands of views. Oh, and by the way, we'll sell tens of thousands of versions of your DVDs that will do a profit split on, and I can get you more exposure than you've ever had in your life. Would you get? And here's why I can say that, and I could show him the data on a laptop, and he would say, "Wait, so you're just asking for a few days of mine filming here, creating content, so you can help my business grow exponentially, get more eyeballs on it than never seen? What am I missing?" You're not missing anything. Like that's my pitch. That's what I'm on to. That's what's happening here. And so I'd get Jim, and honestly, like what I said happened because there was data to back it up. I knew my audience. I knew what I could do, what I could deliver, the sales I could make. like I knew what would exist there, so I was never going in. In fact, I always did my damnedest to under promise and over deliver, right? I'd say, oh, I bet we can get 80,000 views. 80,000 views? Are you crazy? I mean, this is at the time when I knew through Nielsen that Morning Drive had 20,000 at the time. It would have 20,000 viewers on any given day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is that's a viewer that may pop in while they're having coffee, watch it for a second, leave it playing while they go shave and shower, and maybe even leave it playing when they leave to go out the door to work. That's what they called a viewer. What I was calling a viewer was someone who pushed start, watched the entire 6-minute video to completion, and only then was that considered a viewer. So they were immersed in that person's content for 6 minutes, right? And so I could sell that to them, and then it'd be like, and then I could deliver and over deliver. And his golf schools would start to get these inbound calls from these people who are like, hey, I'm coming to Miami. I'm going to make a trip. I saw you on Revolution Golf. And all of a sudden it's Revolution Golf, this, that, and the other. And his marketing spend from his business would go to zero because I was doing it for him, and we were both scratching each other's back. And once I had that story, then I could go to any instructor on the planet. I mean, literally go to anybody. And then it was about me saying, who do I want to work with? Who's probably going to give me the most accessibility? Who might be different? Who might be up and coming? Who might have a message that just needs to be heard, and they're incredible. And that's how you come up with the Sean Foleys, the Andrew Rices of the world. And I even brought on Martin Hall prior to being acquired by Golf Channel. And it probably helped the acquisition along because I was able to grab one of their talents, get lots of views, and create lots of revenue for Martin and Revolution Golf. And Golf Channel said, holy smokes. But then I was able to kind of go out there and pick and choose and, go to Dave Pells and go to these people who were fairly difficult to get to for the average golfer. And I could deliver them, these views and change, the way they did business. I mean, honestly, like Jim is an amazing success story. It was great. Jim is a lifelong friend, one of the great golf instructors on the planet that there's ever been. But the other guys that I've worked with have been phenomenal too. And I've actually created I'm thankful I've been a connector to create friendships. Martin Chucks, probably Martin has more views than maybe any golf instructor ever. I mean, I say that when you hear me question it, but there's tens of millions of views of his content that have been consumed over the last 6 or 7 years. And his golf schools are damn near impossible to get into because he has a great product. He's a great instructor. And our Revolution golfers and Golf Pass people have fed those golf schools. And then his golf schools are so damn good that he, has alumni that probably take 60% of the seats every calendar year when he opens them up. So he doesn't have a lot of inventory to even be able to sell. But he's somebody that, and I think if Martin was on this show, anything I'm saying is he would only be shaking his head and maybe even being more impactful than the way I say it. But there's a guy who took what I said I could deliver, made it even better, was a consummate professional, incredibly thoughtful, worked on his craft, put tens of thousands of hours in front of the camera, and has been rewarded massively, as well he should be, because he's great at what he does and he cares about it.
Yeah, I had him
that
on.
To me is awesome.
I had him on, and it was.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he and Andrew. I've known Martin since I was about 17.
Oh,
and,
cool.
He's a wonderful person. He's a great coach. And then Andrew I knew from here at Berkeley Hall before he went over to Savannah. But Martin, I asked him, I said, how did you get into the video stuff? And he's either director of golf or the head pro at the time at one of the courses out in Palm Springs, I believe. And they were having some issues on, I think it was where to park the carts. So he bought a small video camera, whatever he had, and an audio system, and hooked it up, and he started doing those for his members. And he said they just started listening and gravitating, and one thing led to another, and he did it for his lessons and coaching and everything else. And it's interesting, that story and yours were I find them very fascinating or impressive, whatever adjective you want to use, because there was no agenda behind it. You just said, hey, look, this is what I want to do. How do I make it work? And then, money was never, you didn't get into it and say, I want to make $1 million.
No.
I don't think when Martin came up with the Tour Striker or the swing plane or the ball or anything else that he has, that he set out to make money. It was, how can I help someone solve the problem that they're having? Because that's part of what I do.
That's exactly right. Here's the thing, like, as far as like a business, just to literally sum up what you just said. And again, it's a cliche, maybe not heard as often, but it's so incredibly true, whatever business you're in. And that is the way you're compensated or paid or rewarded is in direct correlation with how many people you can solve a problem for, right? Or help them achieve a goal. And it really comes down to the more goodwill, the more good you can do for a group of people, the better you'll be compensated in whatever your currency is. Whether your currency is dollars or your currency's in good sleep and good feeling and like well-being or whatever it is. There is a direct correlation with the more people that you can help, the more satisfying or the higher reward there's been. And for me, the game of golf, as I mentioned, I'm a dyslexic kid from a small town in South Carolina. And the game of golf from a very early age gave me so much. The PGA pros all around the Beaufort and Hilton Head area gave me so much. They gave me jobs when I was little. They gave me a place where I wasn't judged on the way I spell or speak or write. It was called a golf course, and I could excel out there, and it gave me this pasture of place where I could find refuge and relief. And it grew me as a human being. And frankly, like, it's not over dramatic to say it saved my life in a lot of ways. So my goal was to build something first and foremost, to use my passion to potentially repay the entire golf world. I mean, that was the crux of it. I never in a million years did I think it would lead into nice sized paychecks and things like that. It wasn't what drove me. It was totally what drove me was to give back to the game that had given so much to me. And I timing and lucky to grow up in a beautiful place like Beaufort and have a PGA community that opened me with open arms and allowed me to pick the range to hit golf balls, and cart guys that gave me rides home from the golf course when my parents couldn't because they were working. Mm-hmm. And just like an amazing community of golfers that, and those times in McClellan's store, the times hanging out in the bag room at Dawtall Club that my dad busted his tail to be able to afford a membership there when I was really young, and he wasn't even a golfer, but he knew that like there was something cool about golf that could help me tremendously. And all those places in between, and John Farrell cutting me a break so I could come play my Augusta National, which was Harbor Town, and any guy that grew up in Beaufort, like there's Augusta National is amazing, but like the course you had to get to play was Harbor Town. And like those times that I would walk in there and John, it would be late on a summer day and hot as hell, and he'd just say, go get him, kid. And those like, I don't believe you get that in other places in the country. Maybe you do. I hope to God you do. But I'm really fortunate that I got those in the Beaufort Hilton area. And those people, those people, and there's so many to name. Mike Harmon obviously was he's like a second father to me. I'm so thankful for that. And even back to Bill Hall, who was the pro at Dawtall, and Ryan Grooms, who was there. I mean, all these guys from the section forever. I could literally, Mike Ingram from Brays Island,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way back. I could sit here and name section people that were impactful in my life for like hours and hours and hours.
As you mentioned, the Beaufort and Hilton Head area, the golf community is very close knit. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent my career here. I've been here almost 30 years. But I don't see or hear friends of mine who are working in other parts of the country where the Hilton Head has its own PGA chapter, or it did. And I
Yeah.
think they got incorporated in the section said, you guys do such a good job. We're going to have you kind of take a bigger area. But, you could call almost any course. And so if it's in the afternoon in the summer when the tourist play is way down, there's, yeah, come on out, have a foursome, go have fun.
Yeah.
And it's like a big fraternity.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a professional or assistant or an apprentice, you're someone like you who just loves golf, hey, yeah, come on, kid. Come on out. We'd love to
Yeah.
have you. Just grow the family, so to speak. And I have not seen that. And I wish other areas, whether they're metro areas or Palm Springs area, and I could be wrong, they might have something similar,
Yeah.
that they would adopt something like that, because it
Yeah.
grows the game. And speaking of growth again, I mean, look what you've done. You arguably have grown it as much as anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it wasn't me alone. It was a lot of smart people that I worked with that were part of Revolution Golf. I was just fortunate to be able to bring in a bunch of really smart people, and it was just like you say, just a desire by all of us to do something really cool and with the game. And as we started to create momentum, that momentum grew and grew and grew. And I think we kept our heads in the right place, and we wanted to help more and more people. I mean, and we really kept that the DNA of Revolution Golf was to really help people get a little bit better. I mean, and nothing is more satisfying to me. And it happened a lot. It still happens a lot when I go to a place and I see somebody who is a Golf Pass member, a Revolution, or certainly was a Revolution member that turned into a Golf Pass member, whatever that might be. And they say, you know what, I was on, vacation in Myrtle Beach, and you had a video on bunker, how to get out of a, wet bunker, and by, Martin Chuck. And we were on a guy's trip, and it had rained for 2 days, and I holed a bunker shot on the last hole from a wet bunker because I'd watched that video. And it made my trip career. I mean, I've had crazy stuff like that happen, right? And it's just it's so cool that you had some sliver of amount of participation in enhancing somebody's, ultimately life in a cool way.
With so much content now online that's free, and the massive growth of social media, how does Golf Pass, which is now was Revolution Golf, how does that model evolve, or continue? How do you stay ahead of that curve?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's always been a question. Even when I was growing Revolution Golf, is how do you stay ahead of that curve? And one of the ways is obviously attracting top talent, right? Top guys who are full-time teachers, who that's what they do day in and day out. They put their shoes on, they go stand on the range, they teach real people, tour people, top level people, beginners. That's what they live and breathe. And the way you do that is you create organized content of their entire body of work, not just snippets, right, of stuff. So I think that's what's really interesting. Like if you go to Golf Pass, we have a program by Andrew Rice where he goes over the full swing, the short game, like every aspect of the game, and sort of a master class version of organized sort of go through and a repository there. And here's what happens. And this is, one of the findings of Revolution Golf that really was eye-opening to me. I'm very biased to our golf instructors. I think our Revolution Golf instructors are the best of the best. But one thing you'll notice, and when you get them all in the same room, which I've had the pleasure to do many times, they all basically teach the same thing. Like all golf instructors, there are principles and things that they teach. Now, where the biggest difference is they all have a different delivery mechanism or a different way that resonates with a specific golfer. And I often say it's kind of like, in high school or college, I know right now I can say to you, you had a favorite teacher. You had some teacher that made that class, whatever that class was, better because he was a great teacher. And he was a great teacher to you because of his communication style. And I think that's the same with golf instruction. I think there are a zillion great golf instructors. And there are guys right now in the Orlando area, miles from my house, who are probably absolutely worthy of being on the golf pass stage. They're great. And they would communicate great for a certain amount of people. But to me, it's about finding these great instructors and then having them all with a little bit different style of communication. So if you look at what I'm saying, so by context, what I'm saying is, we had Martin Chuck, very drill oriented, and probably the greatest training aid inventor, teacher in golf. Like, again, I don't mean to sound over the top or like ridiculous, but the guy has just, between the smart ball and the tour striker and all his other things, has probably sold more and helped more people with products that they can buy than anybody else. Like, so there's that teacher. And for a certain amount of people, like, that's their jam. That's their guy. They get it. They need to be able to have that. There's Sean Foley. And like, Sean Foley is not for everybody. But man, the people that like him love him. He has an incredibly different way of communicating. But his way is obviously spectacular. And he is a gifted golf instructor that will go down in golf instructor history. Like, it's just one of these people that's just brilliant. Like, Sean could be doing lots of other things. His level of intelligence is so incredibly high. Mm-hmm. But he speaks differently than Martin. I'm not saying that Martin and him, there's no spelling bee that needs to be done. I'm not trying to equate their intelligence. Their delivery is very different. Same with, Martin Hall and Andrew Rice, both incredibly brilliant people that know their craft unbelievably well. But fair to say, their delivery of their instruction is different. And it resonates with different people in different ways. I'm not by any way saying that one's better than the other. The way they teach, the way they communicate a message is different. And so that's why we were able to do that. I mean, it was pretty incredible. Like, we had a very nice mix of viewership. In other words, people, they liked everybody, but you could see they would sort of stream, different people would be a Sean Foley guy, then different people would be a Martin Chuck guy, and they could get better at the same rate. It was just the communication pattern. So that was a big part.
Was that part of the criteria as you went around selecting who was going to be a part of the team? Or did it just kind of happen?
I would love to say I was so smart. I was so smart to observe it after it started to happen. And then I gave it, more and more sort of thought as I went forward. And there is a bit of a method to my madness when it comes to selecting instructors.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you had something. You're most definitely have the creative gene in that and the visionary gene that you see things well in advance of many others. And maybe you have the talent in that and didn't realize it until it was right in front of you, and not then you took it and ran with it, which is part of the formula.
Certainly.
As far as content goes, for some of the young coaches or people who want to get into building their presence and their brand and all the other things. You had, at the talk here in Hilton Head, you had touched on that a little bit, the importance of content or consistency in distribution. Can you just speak to that a little bit? Because you're obviously one of the leading experts on that.
Yeah, it's still I mean, I know that talk was a couple years ago now. But it's still the case. Like, if you're a young guy, you need to be turning on that video camera several times a day, every single day. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but you have to. If you want to get the best at it, you got to turn that blinking light on and get in front of it, and you got to just go, go, go. And you can't do it once a week. You can't do it once a month. You can't do it a couple times a week. There's too much noise in the marketplace, and you've got to become too good at it. Like, I can tell you this, and every one of our instructors will tell you that the instructor that they were, or the communicator that they were before they started shooting a lot of video, and where they are now has gotten exponentially better because of just getting, as Tiger says, getting the reps in. Just getting in front of that camera and doing it. And then you just need to get that content out everywhere you can possibly get it out. And try to grow your own tribe the best that you possibly can. And that will only lead to boil down to more lessons, more time on the tee. Ultimately, honestly, being able to increase your pricing, because as demand increases, supply lessens, and the way you obviously forge that delta is by creating and making it more expensive. So you're ultimately, if you can provide for your family more, is the outcome that could potentially happen to you. But you got to do, and I mean, you have to be, I mean, these guys who are doing just amazing in the golf industry, guess what they're still doing? They're still getting in front of that camera every single day, turning it on every single day, using it as a tool that's as important as anything else that they have in their bag of tricks, and getting it out there and getting it to people and providing value, and knowing that the investment they make in front of that camera and by putting this out will pay off in the long run, so long as they are getting better at their craft and in working on their craft, which they will be doing in return because they are turning that camera on. It's amazing. I've seen it from people who aren't on Revolution Golf, who aren't on Golf Pass, who frankly probably not going to do business with, but that's okay. But I've watched them so many times. I keep my eye on so many different golf instructors all over the place. And I often send them little notes and little messages saying, like, "Pro, you are getting so good. Keep it up, man." And I'm not trying to court them to do anything with our platform. I'm happy to say we have far more demand for people who want to be on it than need. I mean, we just do. But it's proof is in the pudding. It's like, I still keep my eye on, like, my Instagram feed has probably 500 or 600 different golf instructors, of which I do business. We work with 10 of them. So, 99% of the people I don't do work with, but I observe. And the guys there's a direct correlation with the guys who are creating the most content, with them getting better on camera. And I guarantee you there's also that correlation with their lesson tee bookings.
And one of the things that I learned in getting on camera, and you're always your own worst critic. It's never good enough.
The worst.
Right?
I to this day, I can't stand my voice. When I listen to this, I'm going to cringe. And I've been in front of a video or doing podcasts or things like this for consistently every damn day almost for 15 years. And I will cringe.
Me as well.
Yeah.
And here I am in the podcasting business.
Yeah.
But one thing it does is once you get over that initial shock of actually seeing yourself, you start to improve your technique on delivery, and as you said, how you relate the information that all golf instructors utilize to the individual you're trying, or the group, if you have a school that you're trying to help, is only going to improve, and then your prices are going to go up and you're going to grow and everything else that comes along with it. So at the most fundamental level, everyone, regardless, even if they're in a different industry, is get in front of your phone, get a little stand for it if you're financially unable to do more, and just start.
Yep.
It just takes one step.
I mean, look, there's no flipping barrier to entry in video anymore. I mean, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm a tech geek, and I'm watching this iPhone 12 launch the other day, and I'm looking at the advancements in cameras and, you know, the camera system that they have and what they're shooting and how it's shooting and low light and the frames per rate. And I'm just like, this is the craziest time we live in. It's insane. Like, yeah, the phone's expensive, but that camera 10 years ago would have cost you $80,000. Like, I'm serious. Like, now and by the way, you don't need the iPhone 12. You can have the 2 generations ago, and it's still far better than any camera that we ever used to use.
Right.
Like, so there's no barrier for entry. There's none. Like, you could do it all from your phone, and you're exactly right. Whether you're real estate, whether you own a construction company, I can relay it to absolutely any industry of any kind, from a sub sandwich store to somebody who builds, to Gulfstream, who's building $80 million jets. I can tell, like, it's that relative to everybody.
And the crazy thing is, here we are with everybody can do it, and it just seems like there's a very small percentage that are, which is mind-boggling to me. I mean, in golf it is, right? Everybody's got a YouTube channel. You can watch anybody on the internet now, but the other industries, I don't get why they're not jumping all over it.
But here's the thing, but not only the YouTube channel, like, it's so much deeper than that. Like, I'm going to use our friend Martin Chuck as another example. If you're a young guy, you got to and you're in the golfing business, you're absolutely, either you just don't want to get better or you don't want to make more money. If you don't write Martin Chuck an email and tell him you will come pick the range for him for 1 week, and you go stay in a Motel 6 in Phoenix, and you go watch him do his business for a week. Literally say, hey, I'll do anything. I'll hold the cameras. I'll run, go get the water. Let me get the coffee. I won't say a flipping word. I'll wash the dude's car who's getting the lesson while he's getting, as part of the lesson. Like, give me any reason to get in front of you and watch how this guy does his craft and how he uses cameras, video, to where Martin's student learns more. They take away a video. He uses a Coach Now video platform where he's recording every second of that lesson. Because what's been the age-old thing? Oh, I go to the lesson, I hit it great, I leave, I can't hit it good. Well, what if you have a video of that lesson, of every second of the real lesson that you can watch whenever you want, whenever you want? Like, all these little pieces of technology that Martin uses are phenomenal. And, like, if you, like, and Martin's killing it. He's crushing it. I mean, like, he is doing so great because of that. And so, like, if some young golf apprentice came to me, I would be like, here's what you need to do, dude. You need to go paint houses. You need to go build fences. In your spare time you don't have, to save up enough money to go watch Martin Chuck, and provide value to Martin Chuck somehow. I don't know how. Like I said, do anything you can possibly do. Stay out of his way, but ask him, and he'll let you. Or Andrew Rice, or one of these guys, and see what they're doing and how they're using video and camera to make the golf instruction experience better. Because, yeah, there's the YouTube side of it, right? And that's all important, and getting your message out there is important. But then providing the most incredible golf experience in a lesson to these guys is important too. And there's technology that's in your pocket that can be a game changer for that as well.
Yeah. And you know, the interesting thing is, and I knew this because I'd been in the industry long enough, but when I started the podcast, and I've reached out to some pretty well-known people like you, Martin, Andrew, Mike Harmon's been on, Fortune 50 CEOs. I mean, people who have achieved a level of success are always happy to give back when they have the time. And everybody has been more than gracious to come on here. And I was very worried, how am I going to get any? Who the hell is going to listen? No one's going to listen to me. They're not tuning in to hear me. They're tuning in to hear the guests. But so I knew I had to get people who were really good at what they did, and reaching out to them was a nervous thing. So for any of you
Sure.
young people out there listening, you got to email, send it to Martin, send it to Andrew. I know those guys. They'll yeah, come on, watch a lesson, hang out for a day or two or whatever you need to hang out, and happy to help you grow. Because what everyone forgets is we just went through your story. You started filming in your bedroom, if I remember it correctly. Martin started on a cart path. Andrew started in South Africa, where they just played in every day. So everybody starts somewhere. It's
100%.
Who's willing to take the first step and then the next step, and once you have a little taste of success, then it becomes a little easier.
But let me tell you something, man. It's going to be a grind, everything you do. That's why I want to reiterate the growth of Revolution Golf wasn't all roses. I mean, it's everything you do. If it's worth it to you, it's going to have peaks and valleys. It's going to be much like life, a career or a business growing. It's going to have the same thing. And Pete, going back to what you said about these people who are willing to share and give their time and block off, the reason the people that you mentioned are willing to do that is because somebody did that for them at one time. I think back of, like I said, all these different people who have helped me in some way, and they took that time out of their busy lives to help me in some way that they probably never knew enough that they did. And again, at the end of the day, if you're blessed enough to have whatever we all define as success, the ultimate is to be able to just share and help other people, maybe with whatever success they're looking for as well. And I just think that's a DNA in people, golf instructors, really too. I mean, that's right. The case.
Who were some of the mentors that helped get you going, kept you going, and very, very supportive? Obviously, your mom and dad that you spoke of.
Yeah, I mean, look, my mom and dad were certainly the foundation of that, and could spend an entire podcast talking about their support and their unwavering, understanding for me and all that they did for me, and the values that they instilled in me that were the foundation of me being able to go out there and have faith in myself to take the risk that on paper looked ridiculous, but to motivate me to do that and be the examples that they were. So they're first and foremost, the most influential from that perspective, and equal. Both my mother and my father completely equal in on that scoreboard. Just beyond fortunate to have parents like them. Realize that literally, I'm just very blessed to be able to have folks like they are. That not everybody does, and that has given me the support that I've needed at that time. So they're definitely there. I'm very high on that list, if not the highest on that list. Also, there have been very influential people in my sort of golf evolution. No one, I think, no single individual higher than Mike Harmon. I met Mike Harmon. I was about, this is dating me. I'm 46 now. I was probably 17 or 18. My grandmother had given me, my father, some money for me to be able to buy a Secession Golf Club membership when they were at their all-time complete and total low. In fact,
they shut the doors, I think, for a little while.
Yeah, no, the day my dad made the trade for the equity of the purchase of the membership, there was a note called on the club, and there was a chain and a no trespassing put across that. And that was hell, man. That was almost, I'm trying to think. I was 17. I mean, that was damn near 30 years ago. I mean, it was not long after they opened. And the first day I met Mike Harmon, he was cutting the 11th fairway on a mower. The course was closed. Yeah. And the place was closed. He was getting no paycheck. And he was out there keeping the dandelions from sprouting in the 11th fairway. And, from there, it's been, like I've said, I mean, nothing short of, a second father sort of relationship, and helped me grow as, like, by the way, not only business, but as a human being. There's been no finer example other than, like, my dad and my mom to be in front of a man who tirelessly, watched a vision go through massive ups and downs, who has had struggles in other parts of his life, but you would never know it to the outside. And he has been such an inspiration, a motivation, somebody I never wanted to let down, and wanted to make him proud of me, because, like, he's such a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was somebody that was awesome. I just slipped and said Mike Ingram, and Mike Ingram out of Brays Island was somebody that, like, used to take me around the section golf tournaments, and I would play practice rounds with him. And, from his days out at Cat Island to when the Pingrees built, Brays Island, was somebody that, allowed me to play out there for no cost, and work in the cart barn and wash carts and pick the range and do all those things to sort of, allow me to be on a golf course and a golf practice facility that I ordinarily would have never had the opportunity to sort of be in front of or be on. And Mike Ingram was that person who sort of instilled that in me, and somebody that Ingram was somebody at an early age who, he was such a fine player. He was the first truly, really, really exquisite golfer that I had ever seen close up or known, and motivated me to play better. He was an incredible player.
Yeah, the one
struggled with the putter a little bit, but ball striking wise, in reflection, after years and years, he's still one of the top that I'd ever seen. Just would flat wear out a set of Hogan Apex irons in the sweet spot.
In the 1 year I played in the Beaufort City Championship, he got me, because I was working at Kalawasi then, so they allowed that close to the south side of the Broad River to play. And Mike had not played. I mean, he was doing, getting Brays all set up and everything, and he wasn't playing in many of the local things that I knew of. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? I mean, I think I shot 68 or 9. I thought I was going to be leading, and here's a guy shoots 64. I said, who the hell is that?
Yeah. I remember he qualified for the Greater Greensboro Open, and he played a practice round, and I was up there watching every footstep of every day of it. And I remember he played a practice round, and, like, with Duffy Waldorf at the time, who was a big player on the tour, and, like, on the third hole, he had, literally striped another one, hadn't missed a shot, and they were walking off the tee, and Duffy was like, "Time out, you fold sweaters for a living with this action?" And, like, it was something that really always instilled in Mike. I mean, he won a Big Ten championship. He was an incredible player, but he was a great influence for sure. I mean, him, Mike Harmon. There was a man named Bill Totten who gave me my first job out at Fripp Island when I could barely drive. I think I was 15. And when I mean job, I mean I was, like, picking the range and things like that.
But just happened to be involved in the golf industry. Just enjoying it.
Man, just being around it, just like, picking the range late at night, putting flags out early in the morning, smelling the cut grass, bagging range balls. I mean, just all those like deep fibrous pieces of the DNA that creates all of us that love this game so much. I mean, they're the reason, like, to this day, I reflect on my life, and I live at Lake Nona Country Club, and I'm so fortunate, and my neighbors are some of the best players in the world, and I still just love, waking up early and going and seeing Brandon Ritchie, our superintendent, and talking to him about dirt and verticutting and overseeding and all of those things that, like, he's a passionate, incredible agronomist superintendent, and like that's still, like, I love that. I did that the other morning. Like, I got up early, jumped in my cart, made a coffee, and went and looked for him and found him, and we just talked about overseeding.
When one question a lot of people asked that I thought was kind of interesting when they heard you were going to be coming on was they wanted me to ask you if you got, with all the equipment that you ran through the sites that you have and the businesses, was it like being a kid in a candy store and that you got to test a lot of it?
Yeah, I mean, there certainly were. Well, that was certainly. I mean, I've always been a bit of a gearhead, and that was always fun being able to see that kind of stuff. I mean, look, as recently as this past year, I got the opportunity. I've forged a really nice relationship due to business with Golf Pass with Rory McIlroy and his team of management that is phenomenal. And, like, even this past year, we played a round here in Orlando one early morning in last December, and he had, like, the new TaylorMade product that obviously nobody, like, this is way before even, like, spy pictures are out of the sim driver. Like, nobody had seen this thing. And, to me, that's still, like, it was funny. I remember him, like, handing it to me, and I could feel this, like, childish, like, adrenaline as I pulled the head cover off to see what the newest, latest, greatest thing was. And there's no question from that. There was a lot of self-satisfying sort of things that I was able to. I mean, I've hit balls at the Kingdom. I've done it. I've done, like, I've done everything. It's just been, there's nothing left on my bucket list, hardly, I don't think. I mean, this game has afforded me so much. I've played with some of the greatest players that'll ever play the game. I've had the honor and privilege of meeting every single great player that I've ever wanted to, from Mr. Palmer to Mr. Nicklaus to Mr. Player to Tiger Woods to Rory McIlroy to anybody in between. I've seen the insides of every single golf OEM operator, building clubs, how they build it, where even the places where you're not supposed to go, I've been allowed to go, meaning seeing their R&D and understanding how many years in advance and where they are with it. I've had the opportunity to play every great golf course that I've ever wanted to play. I literally do not have one single one list left on a list of any kind. I've been to the Open Championship, numerous times. I've been to every single major, Masters. I've got to see it from all sorts of angles and views, from inside the ropes to walking practice rounds with, elite players to I've caddied for Nick Faldo at the Heritage in Hilton Head in 2016. I've caddied for him in Branson, Missouri. I've caddied 3 different times on the Corn Ferry, buy.com, web.com. I've been so fortunate, so fortunate to be able to do that. And you know what the coolest thing is there's another cliche, is I've been able to meet my heroes, and none of them have disappointed me. People are like, don't ever meet your heroes, they'll disappoint you. That's not true with our great game. That's not true with our great game. I've had that opportunity to spend time to have conversation with all of them, literally. And some of them have passed away. And none of them have let me down, because we all share this like really common love for golf. Like, I get the question often, what's Rory McIlroy like? Rory loves golf. He loves to play golf. He's a great human being. He's grounded and he's really appreciative, and he's had magnificent parents. But the root of all of like that kind of stuff, and like the stuff that we do with it, he loves the game. He loves waking up early. He loves digging a big old divot ditch. He loves, he loves the heat of the battle. He loves competing. But at the crux of it, he loves the game of golf. And it's like, that's what we have. That we have that passion the same way those people have that passion. So if you boil it all down, you have this incredible connection there. So maybe like if your hero was some actor or something that you didn't have a mutual love for or something, they might let you down, right? Mm-hmm. But I like, in our beautiful game, it's such a soulful, incredibly cool game that you have to have that passion, no matter if you're the weekend warrior or you're the best player in the world and major champion. You've got that in your DNA. So that's what's been really cool about it.
Yeah, and you're probably seeing golfers at their truest, their most vulnerable, when they're out there and they're on TV and they're in their arena and they're giving it everything they have. There's nothing phony about it. You don't compete at that level faking it.
You don't compete at that level. There's not another sport with more access to them, with mics everywhere. I mean, you think about the sport, like, yeah, they have some mic'd up football players, but you don't hear what they're saying in the tackle and the scrum and when the things are going really bad. You don't hear the huddle. You don't hear the sideline stuff like you do with the caddy and the player and the heat of the battle coming down the back nine of it. Like, it's just there in the proximity you as a viewer or a person or a fan have to these people is unprecedented. Like, you go to a golf tournament, whether it's the Heritage or the Masters, you're inches from these players as they're going through battle. Like, it's incredible. So that to me is like really, really incredible. And it's unlike anything in any other sport by a long shot. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you think about it, like you think about, I'll use Tiger Woods as an example. Every shot for every round for probably 10 years has been videoed close up. They show cameras on him when he pulls up in the parking lot and gets out of his car, right? There are people when he is practicing, even at private clubs, that are videotaping him and shooting him from afar, right? There's nothing. He has to, like, compare that to Tom Brady. His practices are closed. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets near him during the practice. They don't hear what he says in the locker room. They don't hear what he says on the sideline. They don't hear what he says in the huddle. They see him yell, hut, hut, hike, throw touchdowns, and have confetti fall on his head.
Right, and usually with a helmet on, so there is no personal relationship to the face.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. Great point. But, like, golf's so raw. And you see every step of this guy for 4.5 hours for all 4 rounds. And when he enters the parking lot, hell, even every range ball he hits now. Nothing's more intrusive than the game. There's a reason why Tiger's boat's called privacy. Holy smokes. I mean, look, we don't need to get into the character of Tiger Woods. He is, a flawed man like all of us, like all men, like all humans that walk the earth have our flaws. I'm not going to dare go there, but I don't think anybody will ever realize what his rise to stardom and the proximity of that with amongst other people and spotlight and judgment was like. It's like unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And when you really break it down and think about it, and you think about it that hard, I mean, just like I just said, Tom Brady plays in a football game for 2 hours, 16 Sundays a year. Tiger in his prime was playing 22, 23 tournaments, 4 games, so 4 rounds for 4.5 hours every round, and the mic and the camera never left.
Yeah, and then you got the press conferences
And
early in the
then you
week
have
and
all
all
that other stuff. That's
pro-ams and
exactly
everything
right.
else.
Yeah. And you get the microphone shoved in your face, and you got no idea what's going on. Like, that guy just played a good round, but maybe he's got something else going on or what. Like, the demands on the human psyche, and to keep that all up, they're immeasurable.
Mm-hmm.
But we all do it because we love the game.
And you have to love what you're doing. You with the what you've created. Golfers usually love, obviously, a golfer. They wouldn't get up at all hours of the night to get a tee time.
Right.
But it keeps you going through the rough times, and regardless of the success level somebody has, and it's part of your story that is so, you're so forthcoming with it, that yeah, you do have very difficult times, sleepless nights, and you're wondering how you're going to get to the next week or month. But it's that passion and excitement for what you're doing that gets you through the lows.
That's exactly right. I mean, look, I lived in New York City when I was building the business, and I can remember walking home many of nights. We had a small WeWork office on 34th Street, and I would walk home to 66, mostly to save money, to be quite honest with you. And it would be dark, and it would be cold, and I'd be walking down the street, and I'd, be during a tough patch of the business of some sort or something going on. And I would just sit there and I'd tell myself, dude, there's nobody loves you, or there's nobody loves the game more than you, or is going to outwork you at what you're doing. Nobody is out there doing it. Nobody is going to. And so either you're going to make it or nobody's going to make it. I can remember just pounding that in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had just this relentless sort of want, need, desire, all those things to have an outcome.
Have you ever gone back, or did you ever consider going back to college to some of the professors who didn't understand the difficulty you had with dyslexia, and say, hey, you remember me?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I had to, of course, not to get too personal, but when you sell your business and you're an alumni of a university and it's in Forbes and all those other places, it's funny how the people who raise money find out about that, right?
Right.
And they, for the universities, and they come knocking at your door shortly after those articles are printed in the news. And lo and behold, I knew it would happen. I get an email to my Golf Channel email account from the University of South Carolina, which I love. I love the University of South Carolina. It's a great institution. I wouldn't do it any other way. My path was my path. But they called me, and I said, I want to tell you guys something real quick before we get into this conversation. I said, you'll see that my major was media arts. They're like, yeah, exactly, incredible. And I said, let me tell you why my major was media arts. Because my dad and I transferred from USCB in Beaufort because my grades were terrible. And if there wasn't a lady named Tinker Folsom who worked there, I probably never would have gotten even to the main campus. But my father and I went to the University of South Carolina in a July month. And I walked in, back in the day, underneath the Coliseum. If you walked in this one door, to the left was the media arts, and to the right was sports journalism. I walked to the right. My dad was with me. And I went and I talked to the person that was the head of sports marketing. That's what it was literally called. And I said, I'd love to do this. And he looked at my grades and he looked at it and said, you got no shot at this. Like, we only let this many people into sports marketing and sports management, and you're not a good fit. You're not a good enough student to do this. And I walked out of there, and my dad, I could feel my dad, how upset, depressed for me he was. And we looked across the hallway, and there was something called media arts. And I walked into there, and they said, we'd love to have you learn how to create film and stuff. When you come in August, why don't you sign up for this? And I remember my dad and I, as I said, I transferred. We went to group therapy, which is a bar down in 5 Points. I was 21 at the time. It took me, that long to get to the main university. I was able to drink beer, and we sat at the bar there, and he said, had a cold beer, and he said, well, hell, make the best of what you can in media arts. Sorry that didn't work out for you with the sports marketing thing. And so I just find it really, I told them that, and I said, you guys kind of missed your boat on that one. That I don't remember that gentleman's name, and I'm not a person who holds grudges. In fact, that's something my father has instilled with me for a long, long time. And I don't know if I have a grudge, and I'm sure you guys will get a nice donation out of me at some point, but I just want to make sure you understand that you guys helped me in my education process, but not probably the way you thought you did.
That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it was funny.
What's next for you guys? What's the future hold for you and Golf Pass? With the move from Orlando to Connecticut? And
no, we're not. So Golf Now and Golf Pass will continue to be in Orlando. All of the news and the production side of stuff is moving up to Stamford, Connecticut, which honestly, and I don't speak to this without incredible amount of compassion in my heart and my mind for the people whose jobs were moved on and who could not go up there for that job. And I truly mean that. But it is something that needed to be done some time ago. And it is moving up there. It's the most incredible state-of-the-art facility that you've ever seen. And they will go up there and they will create probably even better news and better communication than they could have from down here in Orlando, because Hockey Night in America, NFL, the Olympics primarily, NASCAR, NHL is all shot out of this incredibly massive, second to none technology-wise facility, and golf should be in there as well. And so it will be moved up there. Like I said, it's been a difficult time for everybody within our organization, with the people moving and picking up their families and losing jobs and so on. And so I don't say that without a massive amount of humility and respect for those people. And we're going to be here. We're going to be here in Orlando with Golf Pass and Golf Now. And we are going to continue to build the business that we're building. And it is on fire. Golf is on fire. Golf round, this crazy 2021 it has been amazing for golf.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people that are rediscovering the game, that are going outside and dusting their clubs off again because it's a place where you can social distance, get some good old vitamin D. And oh, by the way, you're unfortunately you're not working, or you're working from home, so you can kind of do what you want with your schedule a little bit. Let's all be honest, you have some more flexibility. So for that, one of the massive things that has been incredible is the amount of rounds that are played. So our Golf Now business, our tee times business is through the roof. Golf Pass is growing because it's a catalyst of all those things growing. So look, this has been a tumultuous year, as you all know, as everyone knows, and there's been horrific loss to people's businesses and industries, and quite frankly, entire industries. But golf has been one that we thankfully has actually seen a resurgence of people playing the game out on the dirt, taking divots, getting that feeling of a good drive again, staying healthy, and it's been wonderful. And so like we couldn't be more bullish on the future with what we do in our great game. And they're so excited that people are starting it again or starting it for the first time. So it's really a great time to be in the business that we're in. And don't say that without being completely acknowledging that there is a lot of hurt going on in the world, and for others, and for probably people listening to this. And for that, I'm sorry, just being another human, I'm sorry for that. But our business, because of all those things, we're fortunate enough to be in a nice place.
Well, I couldn't think of a more perfect person to be in charge of that than you, because there's no doubt that you're going to continue to evolve that, grow it, find out the newest, latest, and just continue to make it better for everybody. And I'm
thank you.
Anxious and excited to see how that continues. I've kind of gone over the allotted time, but I usually end with a few rapid fire. Do you have a few minutes, or you got to get
I've got like about 4 minutes. We have gone over a little bit, and as you can tell from us scheduling this, my calendar is a little nuts, so I do need to get on to something. But hit me with those.
I'll let you. We'll skip that, and I'll save it for the next time. We'll connect again, and we'll do it at that time.
Not a problem. This has been great to be on. Thank you for getting us together, and congratulations on doing a podcast. And man, I'm honored to be amongst some of the guests that you've already had, and that I'm sure you'll be getting in the future. So thanks a ton.
Thanks you so much, Justin. You have a wonderful day.
You got it, pal. Have an awesome day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed it, you can find more information on today's episode and other topics at golf360.blog. There you'll find the show notes and links related to this episode, as well as any other episode that we've done so far to date. If you're interested in improving your game and would like to learn more from yours truly by taking a private lesson, a half-day or multi-day school, club or putter fitting, you can reach me through the blog site or by email, pete@golf360.blog. So some of you may be asking, what is the golf paradigm? All you have to do is click on the homepage while on my blog site to discover how you can start playing better than you ever thought possible. Or you can simply sign up, again, on the blog page for my instructional videos where I give regular tips on all areas of the game to include the swing, club design and fitting, health, fitness and nutrition, the mental aspects, and equally as important, the integration of all those things together. I'm also on social media, and you can find me at The Golf Paradigm. That's PARADIGM. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, also under the same name, The Golf Paradigm. Facebook is usually the best way to reach me for questions and or comments, and I look forward to hearing what all of you have to say. This podcast is brought to you in part by Old South Golf Links. A short ride across a bridge from Hilton Head Island is one of the area's finest golf courses and a hidden treasure. Set up on towering pines and ancient oaks with sweeping marsh vistas, truly makes Old South Golf Links a one-of-a-kind golfing experience. The Clyde Johnson design was named one of the top 10 new public courses when it opened, and it also takes full advantage of the natural beauty of the Low Country. Old South is a fun and unique challenge for golfers of every skill level and a favorite of both locals and visitors. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular, you'll be treated and feel like family. From the bag drop to check-in at the fully stocked pro shop with both men's and women's apparel, to breakfast or lunch before or after your round, the staff is always ready and willing to help. Experience for yourself why Old South is one of the premier golf courses in the Hilton Head area and why it will quickly become a favorite of yours too. Visit them in person or online at www.oldsouthgolf.com, or to make it tee time, simply call the pro shop at 843-785-5353.